All right, everybody, how's it going? Woo! So we're doing this is kind of more my wheelhouse anyway because I love REITs. You know me, I'm the REIT king. I will say none of this, just a quick warning, none of this is financial advice. All my perception, all my opinion, all just basically for entertainment and educational purposes only. So if you keep that in mind, talk to your financial advisor. If you don't have a financial advisor, go find one. Strongman Personal Finance. I don't know. No, he's not technically one as far as I know. He's a CPA, but I don't know if that actually counts. Um, but yeah, when it comes to REITs, I love sharing my opinions on REITs. Obviously, I'm a huge fan. I tell everybody 24/7 how much. I wouldn't say that my entire portfolio is REITs, but I do have a lot of dividend stocks in my portfolio. I've got a lot of ETFs that are index based ETFs that pay a dividend, but I am very focused on companies that have positive cash flows that have the ability to pay out a decent number of their cash flow to the shareholders in the form of a dividend. That matters to me. Now, do dividends get taxed? Yes. In fact, REITs, if I remember correctly, are a non-qualified dividend, which means you get taxed. I believe. No, don't hold me to this. This is all guesswork, but I believe that you do get taxed more on REITs. Talk to your tax advisor. Talk to your financial advisor. That was a guess, but anyway. Now that we got the legalese out of the way, let me just go over what I really want to talk about. I want to talk about because I'm on my time. I'm on a time limit because I do. I'm going to the theater, watching a movie here soon. So we're gonna go over this list pretty quickly. All right, let me just get the list pulled up. Want to make sure that I got my list all squared away. One of these days, one of these days. All right, so we're gonna start from number 25. We're gonna go HCP Inc. It's HCP for the ticker symbol. The dividend yield is, and what I can do to make life easier for you guys. I need to experiment with something here. This is something I've been wanting to do for a bit, anyways. Experiment with a couple things. Using text. Let me see. This is gonna be totally. I don't know if this is gonna work the way. Oh, okay, I did. Okay, cool. All right. So I'm pulling from my document here. It's just easier to pull from the document and just put it in on this. One of these days. I'm also gonna try to put it in a. Oh lordy, this is gonna be a rough one, you guys. Hold on. You guys are seeing a disaster live. This may not turn out to be the most effective way to share all this, but I'm gonna try. I'll try and maybe do like a word wrap or something here. We'll figure it out. We'll figure it out. Anyway, so HCP is basically has a dividend yield of 5.2%. Dividend safety score of 70. The investment insight, of course, is it focuses on healthcare, real estate, particularly senior housing and life sciences properties. This is one. I can't remember if I actually have a holding of it, but based on a lot of analysis, this is one of the more safer ones. It's got a great yield. Um, I love the healthcare sector, to be honest. Now, here's what I do. I don't buy real estate investment trust index funds at all. I don't buy those types of ETFs. I avoid them like the plague. One of the things I do is I basically just buy at the bare minimum one share and talk to your financial advisor about this. But we don't have to pay a commission fee anymore. So my theory is, well, why pay an expense ratio and just slowly build up my portfolio of all the companies that I want? So HCP, like I said, I can't remember if I actually have them or not. They're actually ones I don't think I have. Actually, let me check. It's actually one I don't know if I have. Not everything on this list is something I own, by the way. This is this is kind of this is going to get to the point where I may own some of these, but I'm going to do a double check, just because I don't like lying to you guys. I don't like telling you guys that I own something if I don't. I'd rather be honest. Let's see, HCP. Give me a second, folks. This is turning into a shit show. HCP. Yeah, but they're called HCP Inc. And yeah, this is one I don't believe I actually own. So anyway, and there's Kimco. So we'll go with 24. I guess I don't know a whole ton about this one, just enough to where it would actually be a good yield. I don't even know if it's technically publicly traded. Hold on, that's the one thing I didn't look up. HCP Inc. I do feel like I got something wrong though. Yeah, I don't think they're actually publicly traded. But I think they're technically, if I remember right, Health Peak Properties. Um, yeah. Anyway, I'm not starting out very good on this one. Anyway, we'll go 24. No, 25 was kind of a toss up. I had to put something there. Anyway, 24 is Kimco Realty, KIM, a dividend yield of 4.7%, dividend safety score of 77. Um, let me put this one up here on the board real quick. If I knew how to do shit. All right, here we go. All right, so Kimco Realty is so yep, 77 for the dividend safety score. Owns and operates open air shopping centers with a focus on grocery anchored properties. Kimco, last time I checked, is one I own. I own a lot of different companies, but yeah, Kimco. It's funny, I didn't even check if I own half of these, but yeah, I do believe I own Kimco. I'd be surprised if I didn't, and if I don't, I own it through an ETF at the very least. Through because I do. While I am not the biggest fan, yeah, I do own Kimco Realty. Okay, thought I did, but just in case. Anyway, they got a nice dividend yield of 4.7%. Blah blah blah. So we'll go with number 23. Like I said, I'm on a time crunch today, so this is really more of an experimental one. But I'm going to be try to educate you guys as much as I can what I know about these companies or what I can muster about these companies. Really, it's just kind of just trying to throw information at you guys. Try to throw information at you, Jarvis. Um, so SL Green Realty (SLG) has a dividend yield of 7.5%, dividend safety score of 65. Essentially, uh, one of the largest office landlords in New York City, with a focus on high quality office properties. So essentially what you get with this one is, I mean, look, office buildings are I think there's still going to be a need for office buildings, truthfully. um but you should be cautious for any company that does own. That's why I only own like one share of SL Green Realty. They are one I have in my portfolio. I know that for a fact. And no, I like their dividend. It's a nice dividend. It's a very high yielding dividend. They definitely crashed a bit during the um, just during the can't think today, the crisis with the interest rates. And also, not only that, they also crashed. The investor sentiment was lowered when office buildings were basically empty. So that didn't help Green Realty. But I was like, let's just buy. I'm just gonna buy a share. It's got great cash flows. They're still they're still receiving rent for a lot of their properties. Um, so yeah, the SL Green Realty is one that I would own. Majorities of these are one I own, whether it's through a single share or through an ETF that I own. Well, I'm not the biggest fan of real estate investment trust ETFs because they do tend to have larger expense ratios, and I don't like the way they allocate. I still own them anyway. I own at least a share. Um, sounds crazy, but I do it anyway. I'm still exposed to great things through those ETFs. Anyway, we'll try to speed up the pace here. So Boston Properties is at number 22, and so with Boston Properties, it's 4.2% dividend yield, dividend safety score 79. main focus is it focuses on office properties in major U.S. cities. Um, in a lot of U.S. cities, some companies are still needing their employees to go back to the office. I still think that these companies are relatively safe just because of how massive they are, but that doesn't necessarily mean that they're safe. I think they're relatively still good companies based on a lot of factors like cash flow, um, properties they own, and usually these companies are pretty well managed for the most part. Um, but yeah, I just love, like I said, I love being exposed to real estate through real estate investment trusts. Boston Properties is one of my favorite holdings. It's not my favorite, but it's up there. Anyway, moving on. We may not be able to get through this list all today. I might because I do have a time limit, but I will try to get maybe once I hit like number 15, I'll do when I have a little more time. I'll do a part two to this, but we'll try to go through what we can right now and see what we can come up with. Let's see. One moment. All right, so Camden Property Trust is the next one. We got a dividend yield of 3.4%. These are all yearly, by the way, a yearly yield. Dividend safety score of 83. And basically, it invests in high quality apartment communities around the US. So that's nice because the fact of the matter is, one thing like I think this is, I'm fairly sure. I'm checking a few of these just because, like I said, I own a lot of different REITs, and some of these I'm pretty sure I own, but I'm just like, wait a minute, I don't actually own. Okay, oh, I don't own Camden. Oh, why I do own them through a few real estate and ETFs. That's right. So I do own them. I can't remember which ETFs, but I do have exposure to them um, through a few ETFs that are real estate investment trust based. So I think one of them's a Schwab one. I'll have to double check, but yeah, this is one I've known about, but I never owned a single share of it, which is stupid of me. I need to. It's got a good dividend safety score though of 83. Like I said, high quality apartment communities are across the U.S. So it's a good one. Like I said, none of this is financial advice, just kind of like just my perception. And you should always talk to a financial advisor. I'm always going to warn that every time. Anyway, we're going to go on to number 20. Like I said, we're going to try to get through as many of these as we can before I have to go. And then, like I said, I'll just do a part two later on, probably throughout the day, through the day. So kind of leave you guys in suspense for the time being, just because I'm a dick. But let's see. Where's the text at? Oh, here it is. What the hell? All right, let's see. All right, so we got a Essex Property Trust, dividend yield of 3.5%, dividend safety score of 86. It owns and operates residential properties in West Coast markets. This is one I'm pretty sure I own, and if I don't, like I said, I've got a million different REIT ETFs that I own just because I own at least a single share of each. Because I do like to remain pretty diversified, even if I have to, you know, own a bunch of REITs. But yeah, this is kind of a shit show of a show, so I want to thank you guys for putting up with me. I could have swore, oh, Essex, that's right, I do own them through a REIT. Okay, so not a REIT, through through an ETF. So it's a REIT I have through a real estate investment trust ETF. But yeah, so a lot of these properties, a lot of these companies, I own through like the Schwab ETF, the Vanguard REIT ETF, things like that. So I do have a direct exposure, but I don't have a single share of some of these. Like usually I have a single share for the majority of the ones I own. Some of them are just too expensive for the share price, which is one of the reasons why I don't like to why sometimes I don't like to buy a single share of a certain one. I just like to get ETFs that at least expose me to the ones that I want. So anyway, So anyway, the 3.5% dividend yield, dividend safety score of 86, owns and operates residential properties in the West Coast markets. It's a fairly decent one. It's one of those that is, like I said, I like the safer ones. So that's why, like, as we climb up through the list, the dividend safety scores for a lot of these get better and better. Let's see, we'll do. I think once it hits about 950, I'm gonna just call it quits, or around 955 because I got to get dressed and brush my teeth. Um, so we got. Let's see. Put the list on here. All right, so we got Alexandria Real Estate Equities. This is one that I don't own a single share of, but I do own through a few REITs. Sorry, I got ETFs through a few exchange traded funds that are REIT based. Like I said, it gives you direct exposure to the ones that you want to be a part of, the ones that you know are good. And but yeah, let me see. I don't think I own it. Yeah, I don't own a single share of Alexandria Real Estate, but I think they were one of the ones that actually dropped really heavily. No, they dropped a little bit, but for the most part, they've grown over time pretty decently. But yeah, this is one I own through. Like I said, I own pretty much every real estate investment trust ETF that's out there, so I do have exposure to these companies, which is really nice. So if you don't have the ability to buy a single share of some of these companies, it is okay. Or if you don't feel like spending that much for a single share, it is okay to get the instant diversification through some of those ETFs if you're starting out. But I do believe that buying into these companies one at a time, one shares, not a bad strategy because you get to create your own index and it's kind of under your control, you know. And as long as you're kind of have a buy and hold mentality, I think that's always smart, in my opinion. But anyway, so 3.1% for the dividend yield, 84 for the dividend safety score. Um, so it focuses on office properties for life sciences and technology sectors. So usually for these types of businesses, you do need to be in the office sometimes, so it's a big deal. I think we might end on number 18 though, so we're gonna go to number 18 real quick. So at number 18, we have Crown Castle International. Now this is one I actually do believe I own a single share of, just because I felt it was, in my opinion, one of the better REITs, because I do love cell towers and shit like that. So I'm a real big fan of telecommunications. So it's good to. I also own several of those ETFs that have this in there, so my exposure to Crown Castle is pretty sexy. Yeah, I own it. That's right. I do own a single share of Crown Castle, but it has gone down quite a bit, so I could buy on the dip. It's actually I didn't realize how far down it went. Let's see. Looks like a pretty good earnings aren't that bad. I haven't looked at their earnings in a while. Oh. All right. Anyway, so Crown Castle International specializes in wireless infrastructure, including cell towers and fiber networks. So this is a huge one, I think, to own because it's like uh, you're owning the infrastructure itself. You're owning the towers. You're owning the properties that the towers are on, as far as I remember. Yeah, it's honestly one of the safer ones. A dividend safety score of 85 is very well worth it. Um, um, so yeah, it's pretty good overall. Actually, screw it. We'll end it because I still got some time. We'll end it maybe Federal Realty Investment Trust. We'll end on that. But one of the reasons why I love REITs, just a quick interlude, why I'm such a big fan of REITs in general, is the simple fact that REITs are Well, I mean, they're companies that own real estate, and it's real estate that they lease out to, whether they're leasing out to actual companies, or if it's apartment buildings that they own that they're leasing out to tenants, things like that. That's a big deal. It's really it gives you the ability to be an owner without having to deal with a lot of the time-taking process of dealing with the real estate. And a lot of the times that when you own a company like this, they can borrow. The company itself has such a good credit rating normally. What usually it depends on the company. Um, that you're usually getting. Uh, it can expand and grow by borrowing money at a cheaper rate and getting properties it needs to get. So you'll see some of the bigger REITs tend to grow pretty rapidly, but it's good to go for smaller REITs too. I'm not saying don't go for like the really small ones, because that could be, you still want really good decent cash flow. But I think the REIT sector is very undervalued, and if you're looking for a strong cash flow and with rent growth over time, I think that real estate investment trusts are a very overlooked part of the sector. And if you're looking for active cash flow, if you're an income investor, somebody who loves to be diversified but also have good cash flow in their portfolio, REITs are not a bad option. Now, REITs are not the only thing I own. I just want to make that very clear. There's one of my favorites because I really do like real estate. I just don't want to waste my time. I you know what I mean? It takes so long to, like, for instance, restore a property. For example, it's just, I don't know if it's always worth it. So anyway, let me drink some coffee real quick. This will be the last one here. And then I'll do a part two, by the way. I will do a part two. Um, I just got to remember where I left off. That's all. Oh, one moment. Oh, just drinking some straight coffee right now. Um, okay. Federal Realty Investment Trust, FRT, has a dividend yield of 4.6%, dividend safety score of 90. And it also focuses on retail properties with a strong track record of dividend growth. So, like I always say, dividend growth is a good thing, but it owns a lot of, it owns like a lot of. Chris, hold on, wait a minute. Last time I remember, Federal Realty, there was something about them that I feel like that's right. Yes, okay. See, they're a good one. I will admit, shopping centers are, yeah, retail properties are good, but it is a safe company for the most part, from what I've been able to see. Um, it has positive cash flows. These all have positive cash flows. That's why they could pay. They're required to pay a dividend, but they also are just good. But yeah, 4.6% yield. Now you're probably all wondering, why would I invest in any of these when I can put my money in a high yield? And by the way, part two will come out either later today if I'm feeling up to it, or tomorrow. Um, but you're all probably wondering, it's like, well, why bother with all this? When the yields for a CD or a high yield savings account are better than some of these. Well, it's like, well, okay, that's nice, but those don't grow over time is the problem. The dividends here do grow over time. Um, and you do have multiple yields that you have to consider. And yeah, some of these yields are not that great, all things considered, because there are different vessels out there that give you a better yield. But a lot of these grow over time in actual value. That's a big deal. These companies do grow, not the fastest, but they grow. A high yield savings account gives you a yield, but the principal amount that you put in a high yield savings account does not grow. This is one of the reasons why I say, like, we got to get out of the mindset. Should always talk to your financial advisor, obviously. We got to get out of the mindset of thinking to ourselves that the only thing that matters is, people thinking that a savings account is your money working for you. It's really not. being an owner is the ultimate goal. And the thing is, you don't even have to do much to be an owner. You just need to have a job, make money, live below your means, invest like a crazy maniac. One of the reasons I've been able to build my portfolio and be well diversified is because my main focus is not my job. Now let me just rephrase that. I don't focus only on my job. I focus more on my investments than my job. I think we've been taught ass backwards how to prioritize things. We're taught so much that we have to focus on how our interviewing is. How good are we at getting a job? And to that, I say it's important to be good at finding a job, but it's also important to understand how to invest. Because the thing is, uh, there is no reason to be ignorant on how to invest, um, especially in today's age. It's just foolish. I see no reason. But anyway, so I'm going to leave it on this one. I will come back later today most likely to finish this one off. This will be a little bit of a cliffhanger, but happy Memorial Day to everybody. I forgot to mention that. To those who have fallen, to those who made the greatest sacrifice, man, you guys are brave as hell, and you deserve to be remembered. So, but anyway, thank you guys. I appreciate y'all. The reason I do these types of shows, we're wanting to do more of these types of shows again, is to help you build your own investment path. You don't have to use this list, obviously, but if you want exposure to some of these companies or all these companies and they seem appealing to you, obviously talk to a financial advisor. You don't have to talk to a financial advisor. I just really strongly encourage it because even though I don't use one, I personally don't have a financial advisor. Um I just kind of, I learned through investment books. Um Pretty much it. Just look for high quality companies that have good cash flows, and if they could pay a dividend, that's great. And they don't have to borrow money to pay the dividend. That's incredible. So that it's really a simple philosophy. I'm well diversified across all sectors, by the way. Not even just sectors, in commodities, in just different asset classes. So, in a lot of ways, I do have an all-weather portfolio that's, I wouldn't say it's indestructible by any means, but it is very safe. It's one of the safer portfolios. Um, but I still try to make sure that I am exposed to things that have cash flow that pay me to hold them because I never want to sell what I have. And I do buy a lot of ETFs, by the way. I buy like one ETF at a time, ones that are good. I try not to go for actively managed or try to go over index style ETFs big time. But anyway, I will see you all on part two. I really appreciate you for taking the time to listen to my crazy ass because this is something I enjoy. I get my rocks off to this, and I just want to help people out. Anyway, see you guys. I'm out. I will do part two. I'm not going to promise the time frame, but as soon